Welcome to the Louisville Business Review, where we spotlight the best local businesses. Today we have with us Leah, the founder of Let's Go Louisville. Welcome, Leah. Welcome to Louisville Business Review. We are so honored to have you here as our guest today. Leah is with Let's Go Louisville, a Louisville-based travel blog.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is so awesome. We've been looking at your Instagram posts. They're really colorful, very engaging, and we're thrilled to have you here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and the people that you serve?
Yeah, so Let's Go Louisville, like you said, it's a Louisville travel blog. And basically we want to help both visitors to Louisville and Louisville locals fall in love with our amazing city and get to know it better, discover some things that maybe they weren't familiar with, and just get out there and explore.
Very cool. And when did you start this blog?
So we are pretty brand new. We founded the blog in August 2021. So we're growing fast, but we're still pretty young. So if you go on the site and you're like looking for more articles, that's why we're working on them, I swear.
It looks pretty good to us. Now, when you say we, how many employees do you have right now?
So it's currently myself and my editor-in-chief, Richie. So those are the two people that are working full-time. We also have a content writer, and we're in the process of adding some more writers as well. And then later this year, my husband is going to join us. So then he'll be another full-time person too. So kind of in the process of growing our team.
Very cool. And what was your inspiration behind starting this business?
Yeah, so I've been a travel blogger for about the past 6 years. I started a global travel blog called Practical Wanderlust way back in 2016. And it grew and it grew, and it's been my full-time job since I started it. And that was back when I was living in California in the Bay Area. And my husband and I took a year-long honeymoon, traveled the world, blogged about it, fell in love with blogging, and I've just been hooked ever since. But I'm from Louisville originally, and I grew up there. And for years, I've always kind of I always kind of figured I would eventually return. So after about a decade of living in the Bay Area, I decided it was time. My husband and I are expanding our family and wanted to return to be closer to our loved ones. So I thought, what better time to start a travel blog that just focuses on Louisville. And so I've had that idea floating around, and 2021 was the year that it finally happened.
Very cool. So just for the benefit of our listeners and people watching this and reading this article, about travel blogging, right? It's very different from traditional, it's not a brick and mortar business. It's very different. It's definitely in the digital field. How do you earn an income in travel blogging?
Totally. That's the question that I had when I first started doing it. And it's a question I get asked a lot. And to be honest, it's still an evolving field. It's sort of still very new. So we're all kind of still figuring that out. But currently, the ways that we make money are primarily off of display advertising. So if you go to either Let's Go Louisville or Practical Wanderlust, you'll see ads covering a lot of the page. I know it's annoying, but that does pay most of our bills and pay our team. And then we also earn money from affiliate marketing. So let's say that we have a post on where to stay in Louisville for visitors. And if somebody is reading that post and they book a night at 21C, which we recommend, then we get a small percentage commission on that booking for the duration of their stay. So that adds up over, if you have a large audience, that'll add up as well. And then a lot of bloggers also make income off of sponsorships and brand partnerships and social media partnerships. And that can be lucrative as well. It's not something that we do as much of as some other brands, but that's another really good income stream as well.
Very cool. And when you do affiliate marketing with local businesses, how do you go about doing it? Do you reach out to them directly, or do you have a company that handles that for you?
So we have a lot of different platforms that we go through. I think reaching out to businesses individually, that would be time consuming, I think, for both of us. But there are platforms out there, for instance, if you're a hotel and you have listed your hotel on booking.com, booking.com has its own affiliate program. So as a travel blogger, I go out and I find those programs and I join them and, kind of negotiate the terms directly through the brand representative rather than having to go through each of the individual businesses.
Yeah, very cool. Seems like you're well versed in this industry, and even though your blog is relatively new, you're set up to explode hopefully in the next couple of months to a year.
That would be great. I would love nothing more than to see Let's Go Louisville grow as much as our main brand. So Practical Wanderlust is definitely kind of the big sister. And we're taking a lot of the things that we've learned over the past 5 years, working on Practical Wanderlust and growing it and working with a team on that site. And then I'll just be applying those learnings to Let's Go Louisville and really just focusing on trying to grow love and support and hopefully bring more people to come visit Louisville.
Absolutely. And what is your goal for this blog in next, let's say, 6 months to a year or 5 years?
I would really love to become kind of a one-stop shop for people that are visiting. So if you're planning a trip, I want to be one of the the websites that comes up when you're searching, no matter what it is that you're looking for. And then I want to help you plan the rest of your trip as well. So I want to help visitors know where to stay, what to do, where to eat. And then also locals as well. We have some fantastic resources, like Leo Weekly is fantastic. There are a lot of great websites out there already. And so I respect that and I love what they're doing. And I'm looking for ways that maybe I can fill in some articles that they may not have already written. So it's kind of a little bit of both. I am hoping also to just expand more into the tourism side of things. I see so much potential for Louisville and for the future of the city. And I love what tourism can do for a local economy. So I'm really hoping to branch out more into potentially at some point, I'd love to have a hotel or own a tour company or something like that that can contribute in a really concrete way to the tourism that we've already got in the city.
Very cool. And you having been raised here in Louisville and then traveling and living in the Bay Area, what were your impressions like before you went through that experience, and what are they now?
Oh, that's a great question. Before I started a travel blog, well, first of all, I didn't know travel blogging was a job. I just thought it was going to be a fun hobby. And it was my surprise that you could actually make money from it. And it was even more my surprise that you can make enough money from it to have it be your full-time job. And something that I've learned as our blog has grown and as we've grown our readership and kind of become industry leaders is that the tourism industry is one of the largest industries in the world and can have an incredible impact on local businesses. So every time I write an article about a place, I'm directly impacting the local economy. I'm directly directing tourists where to go, which is going to impact the experience of both locals and businesses. And I take a really deep responsibility for ensuring that the visitors that are going to those places are visiting ethically and mindfully and responsibly, and that I'm doing my part to ensure that the businesses I'm promoting are in line with ethical tourism standards. So that's something that I've really explored over the past several years, and a mindset that I have on a global level. And it is something that is definitely going to be at play in Louisville, just really thinking about, now I'm writing about my own home and I'm writing about my neighbors and I'm writing about businesses that I love. And I want to be so mindful about that impact and what impact tourism can have both positively and negatively on a destination. So that's definitely changed my experiences as just like a person who loves to travel versus somebody who's now an active member of the media in the travel industry.
Great. Now, there's a lot of business owners that also watch these videos and read these articles that we post. And if they're wondering how they can partner with you to promote their business, what advice can you give them, and what services do you offer in that realm?
Absolutely. I would love to explore some partnerships with local businesses. We've already had a few reach out, which is amazing. We do have a page on our site, the Work With Me page. It's got a little bit of information about who our audience is, and there's a form that you can fill out, and we can send you a media kit, talk about rates and deliverables. The way that we typically partner with businesses is they'll have something in mind that they want to promote, maybe a giveaway or an event or something specific that we can offer to our readers. And we'll typically charge a deliverable fee. So let's say you want to post on Instagram, we'll typically charge a set fee for that post, something like that, or a set fee for a blog post. And we have all of our rates available on our media kit. And as we grow, those rates are going to change too. So it's great if you contact me sooner rather than later, because we are growing pretty fast. So rates are currently the lowest that they'll be in the given future if things work out the way that I'm hoping they will.
Absolutely. You may have mentioned your website before, but could you share the URL with the viewers?
Yes. So it's letsgolouisville.com.
All right. Nice and simple. And now, Leah, have you always had the spirit of entrepreneurship? It's because it seems like you're very natural at it.
I think I have. I think it's genetic. I'm pretty sure I get it from my dad. So my dad is he's in the business field, and he, growing up, I got to watch him, going to networking events around Louisville and meeting all these amazing people. And I think that I learned a lot from that experience. And I also think it is truly deeply genetically embedded in my DNA. But yeah, I've always been one of those entrepreneurial types. I remember I was 3 years old, and I would make these really ugly yarn bracelets, and then I would go to my mom's book clubs and try to sell them to all of her friends. Just knowing that they were terrible, but just being really cute and hoping that would work. But yeah, I think I always have. So Let's Go Louisville is probably my fourth or fifth online venture, just starting a website and kind of seeing what happened. And then my other travel blog, Practical Wanderlust, that was the first one that went anywhere. So I think it takes a lot of trial and failure to find the business that works. So here I am.
And what has been the toughest thing when you were starting out as a travel blogger? What were those early days like?
I think the most confusing thing for me was just having no idea how to what blogging was. And there's really no manual. Nowadays, there are quite a lot of resources. You can Google how to become a travel blogger, and there are things that are available written by other travel bloggers. I've got some on my site. But at the time, it was kind of a little bit more the Wild West. Very few people were earning money from it. So it wasn't really clear if that was something that you could do or not. There still really aren't many industry standards. Even in the larger realm of content creation, it's still very much, everybody's figuring it out as they go. So that was both exciting and also really challenging for me, because you're trying to follow a path that hasn't really been established yet. So just sort of fumbling my way around in the dark and figuring things out as I go has been a really fun experience that has definitely been challenging. And then of course there was, the pandemic that destroyed my industry for a year. I would say that was also a major challenge, but knock on wood, I think we're starting to bounce back from that. So
speaking about the pandemic, how has that impacted your personal business, and what adaptations have you made moving forward?
Yeah, so it was pretty rough. And I would say probably from March 2020 to probably into Q4, we just weren't earning anything because people weren't traveling. And as a business owner, I prepared for a lot of different scenarios and tried to think through, how we would react. But one scenario I never thought of is, what if the entire world stops traveling all at once overnight? So that really threw me for a loop, and it was really difficult. I think maybe I hadn't noticed how much of my identity had been wrapped up in my business. And so watching overnight everything that I had built basically tumble over was really, really awful. So I did struggle. And the most important thing for me was to keep my team together. So on Practical Wanderlust, my other blog, I do have a team of about 10 people that are helping me, and I didn't want them to be struggling financially. So I made the decision to keep everybody, not to reduce hours without like a voluntary kind of, yeah, I'm okay with having my hours reduced sort of thing, not to cut wages or anything like that. And instead we just wrote it out and crossed our fingers and hoped for the best. And so I had about 6 months that I was going to be able to keep paying everybody at the same rate before I would need to make some really difficult decisions. And, we were so lucky that we were able to get some assistance with PPP, which helped us out. And then by the end of the year, some travel had started to return domestically, which was able to get us kind of back on our feet and coasting along. So things have really changed now that, people are vaccinated, people are feeling comfortable hopping on planes, and we are in a much better position than we were. And I feel so glad that I was able to keep my team together and keep us, working together. And we pivoted essentially to offering a lot more domestic focused website like articles than what we were doing before, which is a lot more international focused travel articles. So I think that's definitely a shift that I think is here to stay as well, because there's so much of the US that we haven't even explored yet. So that's definitely something that was a big shift for us. But feels like we're getting close to I keep saying every month, I'm like, I think we're coming out of it, guys. And then like something horrible happens. So I'm really just not going to say it, but let's hope one of these days that, we can really say, okay, I think we're good. I think it's behind us.
Absolutely. Got to stay positive, right? So what sets you apart?
Yeah, totally.
Right. What sets you apart from the other travel blogs? There's a few here in Louisville that one might consider as your competition, but what sets you guys apart? How are you guys unique?
Something I love about travel blogging in general is there are so many things to write about. There's just an infinite number of things that you can write about and ways that you can approach it. So most of the people who I used to feel were my competitors when I started blogging became my friends. And it's actually really fun to like go and hang out and go on trips together, even though we're all going to be writing the same post about it later. So I try to kind of keep like blinders on when it comes to my competition. So if I don't know what they're doing, then I don't feel weird about how I'm doing compared to what they're doing. It's a weird thing that only works when you're in a space where your competition doesn't necessarily have to take away from what you're doing. So I prefer to see my competition as, I'd love to work with them. I'd love to get to know them. I'd like to hang out. Like, let's go shoot stuff together. Let's write articles together. And that's kind of a mindset that I'm bringing in from travel blogging, which is a field that is so saturated. I mean, everybody said, don't start a travel blog. It's so saturated. You'll never stand out. And everybody is still saying that. I'm even still saying it now, but to my surprise, you can actually still become, you can kind of buck the trend, I guess, and rise to a level that maybe is not what you expected. So I was super surprised that we became, one of the largest travel blogs in the world. I wasn't expecting that at all. And my mindset is not me versus every other travel blogger, but yeah, we're all in it together. But I do think that some of the things that I offer in terms of that kind of competitive edge, if you want to call it that, is just that we are coming from like having already done this on a different scale, on a different level, on a global kind of focus, and then taking a lot of those skills and just repurposing them for a smaller destination focus. So a lot of the skills that I've already learned about travel blogging, like monetizing, email marketing, SEO, those are things that I've already kind of figured out. And I'm hoping that they'll apply to our new site.
Absolutely. And when you talk about SEO, a lot of people either haven't heard of it or heard of it, but they don't know what it is. How does SEO impact businesses? Like if you were speaking to a small business right now that's considering advertising with you, how would you explain SEO, the importance of it, and what you as a business deliver to them?
Yeah, so search engine optimization is, I think, the number one most important thing as a business. If you have an online presence, whether you have a website, whether you have social media, your customers will be Googling something. And if you're not showing up in the top search results for that search term, you're missing out on all of those customers. So whether you're a pizza place or a travel blog, you want to think about what your customers will be searching for and how you can get in front of them. So knowing how to do that, I mean, Google has so many different tools for location-based businesses, and they do make it's free to get into the search rankings. There's a lot of things that you can do, but it comes with a steep learning curve, I think. So I would highly encourage businesses to prioritize SEO, to hire an SEO expert, or to read about SEO and find out, are there things that they can be doing, to improve their rankings, or to at the very least, this is something I found actually while I've been writing articles, is that I'll Google a business's name and the business's website doesn't show up in the top 10 results, which is, I think, a red flag. I want to link to your website, but instead what's showing up is Facebook pages or Instagram pages, Yelp reviews. Those are all outranking your website. But your website that's your home on the web, and that's where you can really showcase your story and own your branding. So in terms of partnering with me, I like to link to businesses directly, and that does help with SEO by providing a backlink. And ideally, if you're Googling, let's say that you're Googling best coffee shops in Louisville and you're a coffee shop, you want to be on my list of the best coffee shops in Louisville. And, I'm going to choose from the best shops that my writers or that I am familiar with. But if you have a brand new coffee shop, come in, invite my writers to come try it out in the hopes that they'll put it on their list, which is then going to get you more exposure by being in the top of Google results. I hope that makes sense. That was kind of a roundabout way of explaining it.
So you're saying that the businesses don't necessarily need to pay for being getting exposure on your platform. They might just need to simply invite your writers to come and experience it and then blog about it.
Yeah, it really depends. I'm flexible when it comes to who I'm charging money and how I'm charging money. So like I said, I'm making most of my money off of display ads. I'm not making most of my money off of sponsorships. So when it comes to charging for a sponsored campaign, I know that a mom and pop owned shop doesn't have a marketing budget versus, like, let's say a large bourbon brand or, Churchill Downs. I know that they have a larger marketing budget. So I understand if a small shop is saying, hey, I'd love for you to come and have a cup of coffee on me. And if that's all that they're able to afford, yeah, I'm not going to guarantee that I'll write an article all about that cup of coffee, but I'm going to go and try it out. And if I like it, then I'd be happy to put it in an article. So it's really a conversation and a negotiation in terms of what you're able to afford. I also know what my readers will respond to. I know that they'll respond really well to a giveaway, to a gift card, so maybe rather than offer me a free cup of coffee, maybe you offer my readers a free cup of coffee, and then I can encourage them to go and visit, right? So there's a lot of different ways that I am willing to partner with smaller businesses. And then if you do have a marketing budget, I can put together a proposal. We can talk about metrics, we can talk about ROI, we can talk about analytics, and there's a lot more levers that I have at my disposal to be able to make that investment worthwhile for a larger business.
Very cool. So you speak the whole business lingo, which is really neat because it's very evident that you have the business acumen to handle this and take it to the next level several times. Do you have a background in business aside from travel blogging?
For the first 5 years after college, I worked in the corporate fashion world, and I actually learned a lot. I use things every single day that I learned from corporate fashion in terms of financial planning. I do a lot of inventory planning, even though I don't have inventory. So there's a lot of things, a lot of skills that I'm pulling from, much to my surprise, that I would have never guessed had anything to do with blogging. But it's all kind of come together and here I am. So, yeah.
So aside from employees, what's the number one expense that you guys are investing in to grow your blog?
For us, On the global side of things, it's always travel. Travel is expensive. When it comes to Let's Go Louisville, it's definitely writers and content. So we are actively hiring writers. If you are a writer in Louisville and you feel like writing some articles for us, please get in touch. We are actively searching for people to join our team. It's all about, for us, going out and having experiences in Louisville, and then having people who can write about those experiences in a way that will help visitors. So those are all expenses, so my team gets to, they all have company credit cards that they can put a meal on, or a pass to Kentucky Kingdom, or whatever it is that they're going to be writing about. So that's definitely a big expense, but it's also an investment, because without having those experiences, we can't authentically write about them.
Yeah, very cool. So what is your number one goal that if you were to achieve it, let's say in 6 months, a year, or 5 years, that would get you really excited? What would that be?
Oh gosh, that's a really great question. I have a lot of little goals, but I think right now, and this might sound like, this is definitely a very businessy, entrepreneurial sort of answer, but I really want to be able to say that I'm a 7-figure earning business owner. So that's my current goal, and that would be really exciting to hit in the next couple of years, few years, maybe we'll say. Cool. But I'm also really interested in just branching outside of blogging. Eventually, I'd like to have, like I was talking about earlier, just more of a presence in the Louisville community. I'd like to do some brick and mortar stuff. I think that would be really exciting.
Yeah, it seems like what you're doing and who you are could really help inspire other entrepreneurs as well. If there was a young entrepreneur, someone starting out watching this, and they're like, hey, I want to be like her, what advice would you give them?
Totally. So my advice is just start, just do it. I take this sort of weird approach to business where I don't like to think about it too much before I do it, because if I think about it too hard, I talk myself out of it. So I don't like to research my competition. I don't like to go and look at, opportunities. I like to just start it because it sounds really fun with no expectations. That's exactly how I started my first travel blog. I was just like, hey, yeah, this seems like it could be a really cool hobby. And, here I am. So just start. I always tell anybody who's interested in starting a blog specifically that the hardest thing is hitting publish on your first post. The second hardest thing is continuing to publish after a year. So if you're still writing and publishing after a year, you're already in one of the top echelons of bloggers, because most blogs do fail after a year. And I think the same holds true for small businesses. So I was fortunate enough to be starting a business that requires very little investment and capital. It costs almost nothing to start a blog. It costs almost nothing to start an Instagram account or to become a content creator. And if you can bootstrap your way to having that business, that's what we've been doing, that can be, your growth will be slower, but it will feel much more achievable. So my recommendation is just, swallow your doubts, swallow your fear, stop Googling what everybody else is doing, and just do it and see what happens.
Very cool. Very cool. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the viewers about any special promotions or offers that you can share with them?
I don't have anything like that right now. I would love for y'all to follow us on Instagram at Let's Go Louisville. I would love for you to join our email or our email list. We do send out every time we have a new post. We'll be starting a newsletter. So if you want to, be in the know about things that we're writing about, cool things around Louisville, please hop on our email list, and you can find that on letsgolouisville.com. And if you're interested in learning more about me, I would love for y'all to go check out practicalwanderlust.com. We have a podcast that's also called Practical Wanderlust, where we just talk about travel. We do have an episode about Louisville, which we did last year. I think is a good place to start if you're a Louisvillian. And if you're interested in becoming a travel blogger or just in traveling more, I did write a book called How to Quit Your Job and Travel. So that's on Amazon. Those are the only things that I have to promote. Otherwise, just check out our blog, I guess.
Wow. You are so humble for someone so accomplished, and we're so Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.
Thanks so much. Yeah, this was really fun.
We look forward to having you on again as you grow and seeing your progress.
I would love to. That would be a blast.
Thanks again.
Are you struggling to figure out the best ways to promote your business? Forget about the failed attempts and get your business featured at Louisville Business Review to experience the real-time conversion and aspire to new heights of success with greater exposure and ROI. Visit www.louisvillebusinessreview.com to get featured now.